أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم، وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم، واجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك. وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام
وعليكم
ورحمة الله
السلام.
وبركاته.
وعليكم
How's
السلام
everyone today?
ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله مولانا.
الحمد لله الحمد لله. All right. Alhamdulillah. We last week we were busy with we started with Nahwu as opposed to Sarf, and we just did some recap with a slight bit of additional information about how words or how different words look in different hals, right? And our intention is to carry on with that today, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. But before doing that, I just want to have a quick recap of our Sarf skills. So I think we can all just say those scales together quickly, just so that they don't escape us. Right, so Bismillah. Spab number 2. Bismillah. فعل يفعل تفعيلا مفعل مفعل فعل لا تفعل. باب 3. فاعل يفاعل فعالا مفاعلة فاعل مفاعل فاعل لا تفعل.
لا تفاعل.
باب number 4. أفعل يفعل إفعالا مفعل مفعل أفعل لا تفعل.
لا.
باب number 5. تفعل يتفعل تفعلا متفعل متفعل تفعل لا تتفعل. باب number 6. تفاعل يتفاعل تفاعلا متفاعل متفاعل تفاعل لا تتفاعل. باب number 7. انفعل ينفعل انفعالا منفعل منفعل انفعل لا تنفعل. باب number 8. افتعل يفتعل افتعالا مفتعل مفتعل افتعل لا تفتعل. باب number 9. افعل يفعل افعلالا مفعل افعل لا تفعل. باب number 10. استفعل يستفعل استفعالا مستفعل مستفعل استفعل لا تستفعل. Right, does anybody have any question about those scales? Or we carry on with our Nahwu? In my mind at the moment, it's just revision, revision, revision. It must stick, and we must know how to use and access it so we don't forget. Verb number 2, fa'ala, is for mostly making a verb transitive or causation, sometimes repetition as well, sometimes a new meaning. The third verb is for mutuality, sometimes a new meaning. The fourth verb is for, again, causation, sometimes a new meaning. I forgot for the second verb, intensity as well. You must remember all of those. connotations of the abwab as well, right? And that will hopefully enable us to form new Arabic words with greater ease, right? So please don't neglect those abwab. Just it's a matter of saying them, knowing how the words sound, trying to maybe picture it in your mind as well, and that will, inshallah, assist you in recalling those words when you actually need them, those scales when you actually need them. Right. Thereafter, we moved on to Nahwu. Nahwu, we said, was Nahwu literally meant the direction. Here, we're not looking at the form of the word itself. We're looking rather at how words interact with each other, right? We're not looking at the the first part of the word and how a change in that first part causes a change in meaning that we do in Sarf. In Nahwu, we're now looking at how the function of a word affects its encasing, or how it's, the relationship between the encasing and the function of a word in a sentence. But before we could get into that, right, those functions, we actually need to know, what do the encasings look like? Right? And we said the encasing is indicative of a hal. Better than using the word encasing would be to use the word hal, the state of the word. And we said that in Arabic, nouns specifically are in 3 ahwal. What are those 3 ahwal? Remind me? It's all on the board, on the screen.
Raf'un, nasbun, jarrun.
Raf'un, nasbun, jarrun. Correct. Brilliant. Bismillah. Now, uh, we need to ask ourselves, how do words look in those ahwal? The hal is something that we can't always see, obviously, or rather, or sometimes there's signs that indicate it to us, and there's sometimes when we can't see it that well. But we need to know what the signs of those ahwal are so that we can identify when a word is in one of those hals, right? And we said that different types of words show different signs when they are in that hal. We need to know all of those signs for all of those different categories of words. And this is stuff that for the most part we would have come across before, right? So just to recap, we have I have I have this magnetic pen that sticks to my laptop, but for some reason it always goes missing. Right, so we have all of these different word types. مفرد, مثنى, جمع مذكر سالم, جمع مؤنث سالم. These are the ones that we would have likely done before. جمع مكسر, right? And مبني. The two that we added last week was الأسماء الخمسة and غير منصرف. Those are the different types of words that we have, the different types of nouns that we have, right? What we basically, those have different signs of declension, of going into the different ahwal, right? And we need to know them. So just remind me quickly, I'm just going to give you a singular word, right? And you tell me how it sounds in raf, nasb, and jar. So kurrasa, kurrasa. How does it sound in raf? Anybody? Bismillah. Kurrasa. In raf? أو التاء مربوطة at the end, so كراسة. Okay, and then in nasb?
Kurasatin.
Let's say, wait, let's do that one again. Singular word, it's mufrad, right? In raf, how does it sound? Kurrasa kun. In
Tun.
nasb, kurrasa
Tan.
tan, right? And in jar, kurrasa tin.
Tin.
And obviously, if it has a al, then it will just be al kurrasa tu. الكراسة الكراسة T. Right. Let's make that word dual. How do you make any word dual?
Add
Add
ani.
ani and
Add
aini.
any. So let's see. In رفع كراستان. In نصب كراستين.
Kurasataini.
And in jar
Kurasataini.
also كراستين. Right. So now we can't use that word for the jam' مذكر سالم. But let's take another word. Let's take the word let's take the word موقن. موقن. How do I say the plural in رفع? موقي
Nuna.
and in رفع I'm sorry in نصب
Mufinina.
موقنين and in jar
موقنين
also موقنين. Right. Let's take a word. Let's take a word, a feminine word. موقنة. موقنة. In a رفع, it will be what?
ممكنة.
Sorry, the plural of it. موقي.
Nat.
موقنات. And in a رفع, I'm sorry, in نصب.
موقنات
موقنات. And in jar, موقنات.
Mukinatin.
as well. Those two are the same, right? Those two are the same. Then we have a jam mukassar. Jam mukassar, a broken plural. Broken plural. So what would we have there? Like the plural of kurrasatun. The plural of kurrasatun is kararisu. Kararisu. So how will that sound in? Actually, wait, I can't give you that one. Let's not take that one. I'll give that one to you later. Let's take the word. Let's just go with aqlamun. The plural of aqlamun is what? Oh, sorry. Aqlamun is the plural. But how does it sound in raf?
Aglamun.
Aqlamun in nasb.
Aglami.
Aqlaman. Aqlaman.
Aklaman.
And in
Aklamin.
jar.
Aklamin.
Right. So those are all of these categories here. Those are the normal ones that we've we should have seen many times. Then we had the Asma'ul Khamsa. We said those ones changed completely. Those are 5 words, so they're lesser important, but we should know them. Abuhu, Abahu, Abihi. Not just does the haraka change at the end, but the entire letter changes. Right? Not something that we added on, part of the word. That entire part changes. So that ذو ذي أبوه أباه أبيه, but it's only when it is a mudaf. That's only when it's a mudaf. Then we had غير منصرف words. What did you say about these guys? These guys just go halfway. Right? No al and no tanween. Remember that? So an example of a غير منصرف word is actually the plural of the word kurrasa. Kararisu. Kararisu. A normal plural like we had aqlamun would have a un, but remember, غير منصرف words don't get a tanween. So what will it be? Karari.
Kararisu.
Kararisu in raf, right? And in
Kararisu.
nasb?
Arisa.
Exactly, kararisa. And in jar?
Karasi.
Kararisa.
Risi.
Remember, this one only goes halfway.
Kararisa.
Kararisa, right? It doesn't get a tanween and it doesn't get a kasra. So karari, it can't be kararisi because it's a kasra. So it must be karari. That this goes halfway. Amma for raf, fatha for nasb and jar. Kararisu, kararisa, and then it doesn't go further down, kararisa. Unless if the word is definite, and then it changes like normal, right? Kararisu, al-kararisu, al-kararisa, al-kararisi. Right? And then mabni words, they don't change. Right? They look the same in raf, nasb, and jar. الذي 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 ذلك 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 تلك 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 أولئك 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 هو they don't change. Yeah. Are there any questions on that
Can
concept?
I ask a question about that?
Bismillah.
On the semi-declinable, please.
Yes.
How do you then identify that the word is light? Because if it doesn't have an al in the front, there'll always not be a tanween, right? Am I misunderstanding something?
Yes, that is correct. It becomes more difficult to identify whether the word is light or not.
How do you identify?
Light as in part of a light as in part of a as in part of a mudaf in the construction. You won't always be able to see that. Like for example, the word Makkah. The word Makkah is the word Makkah is a غير منصرف word. So if I want to say he traveled to Makkah, I will say سافر إلى مكة. سافر إلى مكة. Must I write it down if you?
That will be helpful, please.
سافر إلى مكة. So you can see there's no that word Makkah looks like a light word, isn't it?
Yes, because no tanween on the end.
Because there's no tanween at the end. But that's not the mudaf. So غير منصرف throws a little bit of a spanner in that works. But what will help you is you identify words that are غير منصرف. You become accustomed to certain words that are غير منصرف, and then you won't have that expectation of it to be a mudaf. Inshallah, with a repetition and coming across these words that are غير منصرف, we will identify when not to have the expectation of a light word or a word that looks like it's light being a mudaf.
Okay, so Malana, are all like proper nouns? Because here we like using Makkah, Ibrahim. Are they all? No. Okay.
No, there's certain. I don't want to go into an exhaustive list of what makes a word a غير منصرف, right? But there are certain words that, or certain factors that make a word likely to be غير منصرف. For example, if I have a word that is on the form of a verb, like أفعل, right? Then it will be غير منصرف. For example, if a word has like extra pulling letters in, and it's from another language, it's origin from another language, then it will be a غير منصرف. So there's a number of different reasons, and if there's like two or more of them present in a word, then generally that word will be غير منصرف. But I don't want to get into the technicalities of what makes a word غير منصرف. Right? That will take a lesson on its own. And I don't know how beneficial it will be for you at this stage. Right? But what we'll do is you'll get a feel of certain words that certain word forms that are غير منصرف. As we move along, like I'll tell you, this word is غير منصرف, and all words in that scale are also غير منصرف. Like I can tell you already, all words that are on a scale like kararisu is going to be غير منصرف. All words that are on a scale like علماء is going to be غير منصرف. But then there's other proper nouns that won't be غير منصرف. محمد محمدا محمد, not غير منصرف. Changes completely, right? Origin is from Arabic. Right, so it's not just, it's not, if a word is a proper noun, then it's غير منصرف. No. There's certain word forms or certain reasons that make a word غير منصرف, which inshallah in due time will come across, but I don't want to go into an exhaustive list of that now. Right? Does that answer it?
Cool. Shukran, Maulana. That does make a bit more sense. Thanks.
So now what we want to do is for the remainder of our, this stint of Nahwu, we said that, look, words or nouns are in one of three hals: Raf, Nasb, or Jar. We also said that those hals are dependent on the function that the word is playing in the sentence. Right? So up until now, we have been focusing more on the superficial aspects. We've been focusing on the type of word that it is: it mufrad, muthanna, jama', whether jam, mudhakkar salim, jam, muannath salim, jam, mukassar, ghayr munsarif, mabni, or is from the asma al-khamsa. We're just looking at superficially, is the word from those categories of words. Then we were looking at how does the word look in each of those hals, right? Now we want to move on to the next and, in fact, more important element of all of this stuff. What are the actual functions that the word can play in the sentence? Right. But how we are going to go about learning that is we are going to break the functions up into the hals that represent them. Right? Into the hals that those words find themselves in. So, for example, something being an object usually means that it's going to be in nasb, the object of a sentence, whether it's a verbal sentence, or a verbal sentence, it's usually going to be in nasb. Now, we will then, if something is an adverb, it will be in nasb. If something is whether it's an adverb of manner or adverb of time or place, all of those will be in nasb. So how we're going to go about learning these various functions is to categorize them according to the hal. We're going to focus on the hal and then look, okay, which functions are in this hal? Which functions are in raf? Which functions are in nasb? Which functions are in jar? Right? So we're going to categorize it according to hal. So the hal that we're going to start with, as you can see here at the heading of page number 4, we are going to start with halatul rafa. We are going to start with halatul rafa. Right? And we are going to look at the main functions that get fulfilled by this hal. Everybody understand that? So if you look at this table that we have here, we have it saying raf'un. That's the name of the hal. And then we have a list of causes. Sababun means a reason or cause. So the reasons or the causes for that hal. We have 6 listed here. فاعل, نائب الفاعل, مبتدأ, خبر, اسم كان وأخواتها, and خبر كان وخبر إن وأخواتها. So what we derive from that is that if a word fulfills any one of these functions, then that is a cause for the word being in halatul raf. Is that clear? If a word in a sentence fulfills this function in a sentence, then that word should be in halatul raf. Is that clear?
Yes, Maulana.
Right,
Yes,
okay.
Maulana.
So now I'm going to go through some examples. Let's go through some examples. We're going to just look at the list of them first, and then we're going to go through each one in detail. So the first one we have in our list here is fa'ilun. Tell me, what is a fa'il?
It's a doer.
It's a doer, like the one who actually does an action. So not to be confused here with the ismul fa'il. The ismul fa'il is just a noun that refers to a person that does an action, or active particle. But you also have the doer as a function in a sentence, not the type of word, but the function in a sentence. So it would be the subject of the sentence or the doer of the verb in a sentence. So let's look at an example of that. We have the sentence نصر زيد سميرا. نصر زيد سميرا. What does that mean? Well, the translation's on the board. But see if you can make sense of it. If you can't understand why we got there, then ask. What does it mean? Zaid
help
Samir. Zaid helped Samir. Now, how do I know that Zaid is the one helping?
because Zaid
In
have Raf.
Because Zaid is in
Rafun.
Raf. But it's actually that Zaid is in Raf because it is the fa'il.
فاعل.
Right. So why, if I ask you the question, why? Well, I can ask you 3 questions here. What hal is the word Zaid in?
Rafun.
رفعا.
Raf'un. Okay. What's the sign that it's in Raf?
The encasing the
Un.
Dhamma.
Right?
The
So
Dhamma.
it's in Raf. The sign is the un. But now the most important question, why is it in Halat Raf? What is the sabab? What's the reason? You have
Because
to
it's
tell me now,
doer.
what
It is
function is it playing in the
the
sentence?
doer.
Right, because it is the
Is
doer.
the fa'il.
It's the
It's
fa'il.
the fa'il.
It's the subject. So for any word in Nahwu, I should be able to ask you those 3 questions. What hal is the word in? What's the sign that it's in that hal? And why? What's the sabab? So we've already covered the hals. We know it's either Raf, Nasb, Jar. We have already covered the signs. This first table that we had here were all the signs of the different hals. Right? Now we're moving on to the sabab, the reasons. Right? That's clear. The first reason we looked at for a word being in a rafa, right? The first reason that we looked at for a word being in a rafa is that it could be the fa'il or the doer. Right. The second reason we have here is a na'ibul fa'il. Na'ibul fa'il. What is a na'ibul fa'il? I don't want the translation is here subject to the substitute to the doer or the subject. I don't want the translation. What is the na'ibul fa'il? Explain to me.
The doer is unknown.
Yes.
Right. When you first tell me, when do you look for this? When you have a
Majhul
when do you
verb.
look for
Majhul verb.
right? So you look for a fa'il when you have a ma'loom verb, right? But when you have a majhul verb, then you don't look for the fa'il because by its very definition, the fact that it's majhul means that its doer is not mentioned. But then the substitute for the doer, which becomes now the subject of the sentence, that then takes the place of the doer. So what is it? The subject of a sentence when the sentence comprises of a majhul verb. Let's look at an example of that. Here we have Nusira Samirun. Nusira Samirun. Samir is a name. What does Nusira mean?
To help.
Was
Nasara
helped.
means to help.
Help.
Nusira means to
Help. He was
Was
helped. He was helped.
right. So Nasara will mean to help. Nusira will mean to be helped. To be helped. So Nusira Samirun. Nusira Samirun. You can see Samirun is in which hal? Raf. What's the sign that it's in Raf?
the tanween. Dhamma tanween.
Dhamma.
The Dhammatain, the un. Why is it in halatul Raf?
Because it's naibul fa'il.
Because it's the na'ibul fa'il, it's
Na'ib.
the substitute to the doer. Or it's the subject of a sentence that has a majhul verb. Right. We're just going through this list quickly. Then when you have the mubtada of a sentence, I mean the na'ibul fa'il we might not have come across so often.
Maulana, just a recap. So the naibul file would take exactly the same format of the file. It's just the terminology, and you know, if you have a majhul verb. So
Yes.
in terms of Eli, you look to the
Is
left.
exactly the same. You must reason. It's not. You must understand. It's not just that we change the terminology. We change the terminology for a reason, right? Because it's not a doer. Samir didn't do anything. Something was done to Samir. Right? Samir was helped. So that's why we can't call him the fa'il. That's why we call him the naibul fa'il. In essence, the naibul fa'il is a maf'ulun bihi. But because there's no word in a raf in the sentence, it gets promoted to raf. Just remember that. Because there's no fa'il in the sentence, it gets promoted to raf. Right?
Maulana, would
As
that
die
be
kat uit is die muis pas.
oh, Maulana, would be the same as the bread was eaten?
The same as the bread was eaten, yes. Ukila al-khubzu. Ukila al-khubzu. The bread was eaten. I don't say, if I say he ate the bread, it will be akala al-khubza. Right? So we're gonna have a lesson on this again. For now, we just want to create the list. We have six reasons for which a word will be in raf. Either it's the fa'il, number one, which we've covered already through Eli, or it will be the na'ibul fa'il, which we've also covered. Right? You also do Eli, but now only when you have a majhul verb. Then we know very well the mubtada and the khabar. Right? Remember those two guys? The subject or the predicate.
Predicate, yes, Maulana.
Yeah.
Right? So this is now, you see, the first two were when we had verbal sentences. Jumla fi'liya. Right? These two are when we have a jumla ismiya. Remember those names?
Yeah.
Yes, Maulana.
Yes, Maulana.
A verbal sentence and a nominal sentence. Right. And we said that in a nominal sentence, in a jumla ismiya, both the subject and the predicate are in raf. So we have the mubtada, the focus of the sentence, if you want. That's an understanding of it. Or you can call it, again, the subject of a nominal sentence. So al-masjidu kabirun. The masjid is big. What are we talking about? We're talking about the masjid. So that's the focus of the sentence. And as you can see, al-masjidu is in a rafa. Why is it in a rafa? Oh, what's the sign? The u at the end. Why is it in a rafa? Because it's the mubtada. The same can be said for khabar. Al-waladu tawilun. Al-waladu tawilun. The word tawilun, in which hal is it? In halatul rafa. What's the sign? The un. Why is it in a rafa? Because it is the khabar. Right. And then we have two more. Ismu kana wa akhawatuha. Ism. I'm going to say the subject of a sentence that starts with kana. The focus of kana and its sisters. Right? When we say its sisters, kana has a list of words that work the same like it. Right? I don't want to mention all of them to you now so that you become inundated. When we get to that lesson, we will look at that. Right? And then we have, so an example of that would be كان المسجد كبيرا. And basically the analysis will be like this. This word al-masjidu, which hal is it in? Halatul raf. Why? Or what's the sign? The U. Why is it in that hal? Because it is the ism of kana, or it is the subject of a sentence that starts with kana. And the same will go for خبر إن وأخواتها. This one works opposite to kana. خبر إن وأخواتها. Again, this is now the predicate of a sentence that starts with inna that will be in raf. Example. إن الولد طويل. إن الولد طويل. Indeed, the boy is tall. This word طويل, what hal is it in? حالة raf. Why is it in that hal? Or what's the sign? The un. Why is it in that hal? It's in that hal because it is the khabar of inna. It's the khabar of a sentence that starts with inna. You understand the process? We need to be able to, for every word we come across in a sentence, we need to be able to ask ourselves 3 questions. What hal? For any noun. What hal? What's the sign? And why? We know the whys now for Rafa. We're going to learn it, don't worry, but we know at least 6 of them. If it's a fa'il, نائب الفاعل, مبتدا, خبر, اسم كان وأخواتها, وخبر كان وأخواتها. If you can identify a word as any one of those, you know that that word must be in Rafa. And it must have the appropriate sign depending on the type of word that we have. Right? In this example list, it was quite easy because all of these words were singular words. Zaydun, Samirun, Al-Masjidu, Tawilun, Al-Masjidu, Tawilun, all of those are singular words. Right? So they took the normal un and in format, and it's easy over there. It becomes slightly more involved when we have one of the other types of words like the Jam' Mudhakkar Salim, Jam' Mu'annath Salim, غير منصرف, etc. Okay. Is anybody unclear on what we just did here now? So that I can explain it again? Or are there any questions?
Maulana, the other 2 is it's Jumlatul Fi'liya and Jumlatul Ismiya. And the last 2, what type of sentences are they?
The kana and the inna, they enter upon jumla, or they enter upon jumal ismiya, upon nominal sentences. Like you can see, if you leave the kana out or the inna out at the beginning of these sentences, then the sentence will just be al-masjidu kabirun or al-waladu tawilun. Right? So they enter upon those nominal sentences. But kana is a type of a verb, fi'al naqis. So it changes it somewhat. But don't worry about that intricacies now. Right? For now, what I want from this lesson, is that we go back, number 1, and revise the first table on page number 4. So just how do words look? What are the signs of the different hals, right? For different types of words. Then what I want us to do after that is, hey, there's 2 page number 4s in here. Oh, sorry, it's like unit 4 or something. That's it, 4. Okay, so yeah, the page number is actually at the bottom here, right? So page number 3 are the signs. We must go through that. But now, number 4, I want you to learn the list of reasons for which a word is in halatul raf. The reasons, the list of reasons. فاعل, نائب الفاعل, مبتدا, خبر, اسم كان وأخواتها, خبر كان وأخواتها. You don't have to remember it in the order. Or it's not like this is a scale of any sort. It's just a list of reasons for which a word will be in harf. Why you need to know that list is so that you, when I ask you the question why, you know the list of potential answers. Right? Like if we come across a word in a raf, maybe when we're going through the Quran or some text, when we go through a word in a raf, you don't tell me it's in a raf because it's the maf'ulun bihi. That's not a valid answer, because maf'ulun bihi is not one of the causes for raf. I mean, in addition to it being wrong, that wouldn't even be a valid answer because it's not one of the reasons for raf. I mean, it could be that you told me that something that's a fa'il in a sentence is actually the mubtada. You'd be wrong, but the answer would still be valid because mubtada is one of the reasons for raf. You understand what I'm saying? So for that reason, you must learn the list of reasons for a word being in halatul raf. Right? There's 6 words. Fa'il, naibul fa'il, mubtada, khabar, ismu kana, and khabaru inna. Right? فاعل نائب الفاعل مبتدا خبر اسم كان and خبر إن. So that's simply what I want you to do for next week, inshallah. I want you to just learn that list of 6 reasons for raf, right? And you can just revise those examples. What we're going to do from next week, we'll have a lot more group activity next week, inshallah. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at each of these reasons in a bit more depth. Right? And we have some exercises to help us with that. So we're going to look at the fa'il only, right? And we're going to say, well, okay, what are the various ways that I can find this fa'il, that the fa'il can appear in a sentence? How do I look for it? Some of the things we would have come across before, so that will be a recap, but then it's just, rounding off and completing our understanding of these concepts. Right, so for this week, again, not much homework other than just to make sure that you revise these lists and you know these, basically know what these concepts are. Right? Is that fine?
Yes, Maulana.
All right, then we end here for now. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mullah Irshad is with us, so I'm going to make Mullah Irshad.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah Maulana.